Hello, hi, and welcome back to another episode of Better with ABBIE May. We have a special little ad hoc episode today. I was with my intern, Jorja, this morning, and we thought we would jump into the podcast studio to film just a few Q&A questions, all about social media marketing, whether you're a business owner, entrepreneur, just looking to get into the space in terms of a social media or marketing career. I put out a little story on my Instagram and we opened up a question box to see what questions people had, but we've gathered some and we are going to dive into a little bit of a Q&A session today, just really talking about all things socials and marketing. But before we do, I just want to introduce Jorja, who's going to be jumping in and helping me out today. Hello, George.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, I'm great.
Yeah, she is a little bit nervous, but again, it is a little bit daunting in this podcast room with the two big cameras staring down your face. But she's helping me out with a few questions. But George, tell us a little bit about where you're at the moment. You've finished school. What are you looking at doing with your career?
So right now I'm in a gap year. Next year I'm studying digital marketing at uni, but I just wanted to kind of get a feel for the industry before I went, and started a course in case, it wasn't for me. But yeah, just working alongside of you, learning some new things.
And how are you finding the world of marketing and social so far?
I'm really enjoying it. I feel like there's a lot more than I thought there was to do with it, but yeah it's really interesting. It's great.
I think that was definitely one of my first impressions when I did my whole uni degree before I even got really any hands-on experience. But I remember my first sort of internship experience type position, I was actually quite overwhelmed about how much goes on in the back end when you're looking after a business and the business's strategy. So yeah, I think like if you are listening to this and you are thinking you're wanting to dive into the industry, my biggest takeaway would be go get the hands-on experience because it is so much more valuable than a uni degree. I know the uni degrees are kind of catching up with the times, but they will always be slower in terms of like what is actually happening. Like there's no way that they're releasing courses and curriculum that is on par with like the release of ChatGPT and AI and everything in the social media space. So your best foot into the industry is always going to be a position with experience and kind of getting that mentorship off someone else. But let us dive into some of the questions. George has them in front of her and I haven't really read over any of them. So we are diving into these kind of just randomly, but we'll see where we kind of head from there.
Okay. I feel like this question a lot of people have. I don't have many followers. Do I even bother with social media?
So I guess the whole question when it comes to followers, this is something that, even in our marketing agency or the marketing agency I was working with for 4 or 5 years, we worked with a lot of businesses, local businesses, medium businesses, and they would come to us with, anywhere from only like 100, 200 followers. And they always questioned, like, is social media for them? Is that what they should be doing? But I guess for me, and what I would always suggest to them is followers is a vanity metric. It is the first thing that you see when you land on someone's page is how many followers they have. And that's why we call it a vanity metric. It's kind of like the way you look, your ego, things like that. It's all really connected. What you do need to look at is your engagement, people that are actually interacting with your page. Yes, the 200 follower, like under 500 follower mark would suggest that your engagement might be low, but that's where strategy comes into play, especially if you're a new business, especially if you're kind of just launching into the space. For example, Better Collective. I was just saying to Jorja before we walked in, we're just about to hit 400 followers, but we're very new in the space. So don't get caught up on the follower count. Look into how you can build your reach and build your engagement. And this is where a content strategy comes into play. So we will probably dive into this in another question, but I always look at top funnel content. So your top funnel content is the content that is going to get awareness of new eyes or new audience, customers, etc. You can do this if you're a business, an entrepreneur, a personal brand, whatever it is. And it's usually that content that is a little bit trending, is going to capture their engagement or the awareness of people. And it's not really specific to you and your brand just yet. It's quite generic. It can be content that tells a little bit about your story, but yeah, you're really looking to create some of that top funnel trending virality type content, which will then you'll be able to like work through that funnel and get those followers. So I guess a roundabout answer is no, your followers aren't the biggest problem. Yes, you should still worry about social media. Honestly, even more so if you're in that sort of space. Like if you've got a new page, a new business, and you're like, do I need social media? Yes, you need to be online, you need to be there, and you need to just launch and give it a go, because you don't want to find yourself in a position in 2 years and go, oh shit, I wish I did something back then. So yeah.
Kind of going off that, another question was, what's the biggest mistake people make with the content strategy?
Yeah, biggest mistake with their content strategy. This can be so like varied and wide. And again, it does matter. Like it does change if you're a business owner versus an entrepreneur versus a personal brand. What I see as some of the biggest mistakes with content strategy is trying to be too generic, because some brands and some businesses can do it, sure, but when you are trying to build into the space, being super bland, super vanilla, super generic, you're not really going to get much attention or audience, or like anyone will really care, especially if it's an industry that is quite saturated. Like for example, if you're a personal trainer and you are just posting kind of copy and paste content of everyone else is doing, but you've got, a really low engagement, really low audience, tell me why you stand out compared to the others. Like you need to find your unique selling point and kind of double down on that message, double down on your marketing message, really talk to your ideal client, and really just kind of stand out and shine bright like from that crowd. So it's probably one of the biggest things. I think the second biggest thing that I see would be clients trying to perfect their social media post before posting them, like thinking that everything had to be polished, everything has to be perfect. Let's get the high-end production team and videographer in. I think that used to be like the trend of social media, maybe like 2019, 2020. Kind of when I was first getting into the game, everything was really polished. But we know that there is such a rise and such a increase of like organic content creation, which, it's easier for the business owner, easier for the content creator. You're able to just pull out your phone and post a reel kind of on the go, and it's still got the chance to do as well as, if not better, as like a polished video. So don't get perfectionism paralysis. I've said that wrong. I've tongue twisted that. But don't get paralyzed by trying to be perfect. Just post. I always say post is better than perfect. And you're better off posting consistently than posting like twice a week with kind of really vanilla messaging and high quality production.
Okay, another question is, how do you handle the fear of judgment when you start sharing more of yourself online?
That one's hard. It is hard, I think, for anyone. Like, obviously it depends on who you are as a person. Myself, I am quite confident even in social situations. So even though I remember at the first, like when I first started posting, it was more fitness related content back in the day, but I still like was a little bit nervous. Like, what are people going to think? I remember I used to have people like in my social settings and social groups like come up to me and make comments about like, you're always going to be like, what would they say? Things like every time we open up Instagram, like you always post, like you post so much. Why do you care so much? And it was like that verb, like they were literally showing me that they were kind of judging me. But I think you just have to remember that like it's a reflection of them. If they're judging you, that's really just their own projections. Like that's a huge mindset piece around it all, especially if you're a personal brand and you're trying to show up. I think as a business, it's a lot easier to like show up online, but with the move of employee-generated content, user-generated content, you really want to add your own personality into whatever it is. And you really just need to put in the reps and, again, show up consistently. The more that you show up, the less you seem to care. And I remember a huge, like, framework shift for me when I was posting a lot and I used to have like these comments said to me like, why do you care? Why do you bother? Like, you look like you're trying too hard. For me, it was like almost I'd twist the conversation and I would say to them, like, imagine how bored you would be if every time you open up Instagram, nobody new had posted. Like, they are opening up the app like a dopamine hit, kind of like a gambler at the casino. Like, they are opening up the app hoping to see new content. And I was just essentially feeding that dopamine. So whether they choose to judge it or to like relate to it, whatever it is, that's really a projection of them. For me, it was just, show up, be yourself, because people are either going to relate to you or they're not, but you're going to kind of figure out where you sit, like in the industry, in the crowd, by being authentic as opposed to showing up fake.
Lee? Everyone talks about nurturing in the DMs, but what does that even mean?
I love this question because this is something that we are actually diving into in my Socials Made Simple bootcamp, which is a little bit of a plug, but converting in the DMs. Now, again, this is relevant for who you are and what you're trying to achieve with your social media. Might not be as relevant for a cafe or a restaurant trying to obviously build their engagement and their awareness. But for my entrepreneurs, my personal brands, my self-employed kind of people who sell maybe a product or a service, your DMs can be such a useful resource when it comes to lead generation, but also converting, like essentially closing sales. So I guess you need to go backwards a little bit because it doesn't just start in the DMs. Like, you do need to build out a little bit of a content strategy, which is taking people through that trust funnel, moving people from, that top of funnel content, which is your awareness, your middle content, which is attention, and down the bottom, I have your bottom funnel content, which is essentially to create ambassadors. Now, with your content, you want to get their attention and create ambassadors. And to do this, you obviously need to provide value. You need to show a little bit about yourself, your personal brand, who you are, your personality, and also a little bit of social proof. So tell us what transformations you've actually created and had in the industry. With this, there is one way and there is one thing of just like posting online and posting really good content, getting really good engagement. You've got comments, like there's a lot happening. Now you need to convert some of these people, convert these people that have become somewhat ambassadors because they trust you, they believe in you, they relate to you. And it's how are we going to convert them to essentially close and be a customer? This happens with a story strategy. So posting Instagram stories with a strategy. You want to warm up these leads, nurture these leads. I always sit with my clients and we look into strategies where we can get their engagement, like whether it be engagement polls, Q&A stickers, sticker taps, even like straight DM replies if it's warranted. And to do this, you don't want to come off too salesy. You don't want every single story to be like, I've only got 2 spots left for June, join me now. Looking for 3 guys that want to join my fitness course. Like, that is very obvious what is happening. What you want is to just genuinely create friends and create conversation. I'm a big believer in create a friend, create a sale. And if you have that mindset of just like creating that relationship first, they will convert. Whether it may not be straight away. This is not really like bro sales, like close them on a cold call, let's get the payment. This is more of that feminine sales nurture relationship type tactic, but creating conversations from your stories, whether it be engagement, posting things that are just kind of relevant to your ideal client. You can always go down, again, if you're a PT, I do work with a lot of PTs, so it's kind of top of mind, but if you're a personal trainer, have those conversations about like what protein do you prefer, where, I'm trying to think on the spot here, but having conversations like where's the best chicken place in the Gold Coast, like you're going to get some people to reply, and it's just kind of like having conversations with these girls. What you're doing is reducing that hesitation when it comes to, you potentially then posting a link for your service. They aren't as intimidated to approach you. especially true for personal brands and, you know, when you are trying to build yourself in that space, a lot of your ambassadors that you've built through your content strategy, they somewhat idolize you. They somewhat look at you and go like, oh, she's a cool person, or he's a cool person, I really want to work with them. You need to like reduce that resistance of the sale, and to do that, have the story strategy. Make sure you are engaging with them. So I love to reply to other girls' stories, comment on girls' like photos, create the conversation first. Like, do make the first move, because they're going to be like, oh wow, like this person wants to talk to me, I feel special. So by, I guess, going back to the question, nurturing sales in the DMs, that was it, something along those lines. That is what we're looking at. Like, you want to have that conversation. I always say this to my clients, do not like reach out to a potential client and, you know, tell her like, you look really good in this, babe. And then she replies back and then you ghost her for 2 weeks. Like, you can't do that either, because that comes off like fake. But when we talk about nurturing these leads, have the conversation. Hey babe, just checking in. Like, how was your event? Like, make it seem like you are interested, because you should be really interested, especially if you want them as a client and you have that care factor. And yeah, just build that long-term relationship, because like I said, it might not be straight away, but in 3 weeks when you post your sales link, you might find that they either sign up straight away or just reply and say, hey, like, I'm really interested, tell me more. So yeah, I dive into this in our Socials Made Simple. We have like a whole week structured around it, because it is something that I am super passionate about. I guess I saw a lot of success for it when I launched my business. I didn't even do any marketing. I had not even made a post about like the services that I offer, and my books were already closed off for the first like 2 months, because I was having conversations with people in the DMs. These people obviously already knew me. They were already somewhat ambassadors of like me and what I did and who I was. You know, they'd followed my journey and knew that I'd worked in the agency space. So they already had that trust there with me. And I was able to just have these back and forth conversations with people and essentially, yeah, like I said, close off my books, which was pretty wicked. And I can see the power of like that long-term play and that long-term nurture. I got the burpees.
I always get stuck between being professional and being personal in my stories. How do I find the right balance?
I think that's really just subjective. Like, it's personal preference. It's quite a subjective question. I think if you feel like you're being too professional, that probably comes from a place of you feel like you are doing something that is outside of your realm. Like, it doesn't feel natural to you. You know, you might be doing it because you feel like you have to. And that would probably be my first piece of advice, is like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to show up away. You don't have to copy like what your competitors are doing or doing what like other people in the space are doing. The more authentic you can be, the more true, like blue yourself you can be, you will stand out. So I think really lean into that personal content and what that feels like. And just try and get quite familiar with yourself. Like, as you're posting, does this feel natural? Does this feel like me? You know, you still want to obviously build that thought leadership and show that you are an authority in the space. So I'm not saying like post on your stories just all the wiki wacky stuff, but find like that balance where it's like, it is just you're having a conversation, you're building that trust, and people will kind of leverage into that.
I feel like a lot of people are interested on like AI world. So how can I use ChatGPT or AI to help with content creation?
Yes. So this is a topic that I am super passionate about. AI has come in and it is like dominating the space. It is taking over, and I am a true believer in like, you either participate in it or you get left behind. You cannot be one of those people that are sitting on one side of the fence and going, you know, it's going to take over. I don't want to use it or engage in it because, you know, whatever their thoughts are. You have to adopt it into your business. And AI, ChatGPT, whatever the program is that you choose to use, I am a big fan of ChatGPT. I've got mine kind of essentially as another employee of the business. It understands me, it understands my clients, and it is able to really help me when it comes to bringing life to strategy. So There is a right way and a wrong way to use AI, and you need to get smart about it. You need to learn from it, and you need to make sure that you are essentially coaching it as if it was an employee. So when it comes to strategy, I spend a lot of time going back and forth with my chat, especially when it is a new client and we're building out a new content strategy, because you really want the bot or the AI robot itself. I need to stop drinking that Diet Coke. Pause. Okay, what am I saying? Yeah. See, this is where I brain fog and I've
You're going great.
lost where I am. Now I feel like I'm starching. You need to learn how to adopt AI into your business. Otherwise, you are essentially going to get left behind. Now, when it comes to content creation, social media, AI can essentially be another employee in your business. You just have to understand how to talk to it, how to use it, and how to give it feedback. But ChatGPT in my business is like my right-hand man, and I would be lying if I said I didn't use it. I think any like entrepreneur, business owner in the space right now would be lying if they claim that they don't use it. It's about sharing how you use it and like optimizing it, helping, like letting it help you and move your clients' work faster. So in our socials made simple, let me think of how I'm going to plug that. In our Socials Made Simple bootcamp that we have just built out, we actually dive into the whole world of AI and how to optimize it for your own content strategy in 2025. But there is definitely a way that you can talk to it about, your marketing message, your service, your unique selling point, and the exact client pain points that you are trying to solve. This way, once you kind of give it a content framework, so I do have my Better Content Framework as well, which dives into your value-driven posts, your social posts, and your social proof posts, and your personal branding posts. Once you give it all of the structure that you need, it can help you build out a plan, which will ensure that you are kind of posting with consistency, but also like a message that makes sense. You're not getting lost in the noise of what other competitors are posting and what other people in the industry are doing. You're able to really just double down on you, your own clients, your own client pain points, and your unique selling point. So AI is definitely something, if you're not using it yet, you need to learn how to optimize. Again, reach out to me. I can dive into it with you. It is a whole section of our Socials Made Simple bootcamp. But when it comes to marketing, it takes away so much of that stress and that pressure, especially if you're not in a creative flow. We know creative juices and creative flows aren't a 24/7 thing. And so being able to leverage something as useful as AI is so important because it can kind of take away that inconsistency when it comes to business and business strategy.
Back to more like the social media, do you have any examples of your clients who started small and grew through their content?
Are we on the spot here, George?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Hang on. Let me think of an answer. I think when it comes to this question, again, it's one thing of, okay, do we sit down and look at the vanity metrics, or do we sit down and look at conversion rates and what has actually like been built through a social media strategy and a content strategy? Now, I have worked with clients in the social media space for about 5 years, and we worked with businesses, small local businesses, large businesses. We worked with, I'm not actually going to say the names, but we worked with some pretty big companies. And I think one thing that we saw true in that space was building a community with the content creation. We definitely had instances where videos went viral, especially if it was like a local cafe, and you have that effect of a viral video, creating that line around the street, everyone wanting this produce or this product that you are selling. When it comes to the clients that I have worked with under Better Collective and my own branch, there has been a true step up in, I'm thinking of one client in particular. As soon as we captured some of this client's community and some of this client's personal branding, the amount of leads that they had just increased dramatically, because all of a sudden people felt like it was like almost the one missing piece that their audience had was, who is this business? Who are they on a personal level? What is the community that they have? They were caught up in this world of just providing value-driven posts, you know, whether it be nutrition, training, mindset pieces, but they forgot to just dive into a little bit about who they were and why someone would choose them over any other PT. So once we pulled that out and we did a little bit of that content strategy and created content, like I said, their leads was just increased dramatically. And not only that, but also their lifetime value. The client retention rate was increased, because even on, what am I going to say? Because social media has the power to not only bring in new eyes, but also to nurture the engagement and the community that you already have. So it is such a powerful tool in so many ways. I think as business owners, sometimes we get a little bit caught up in, you know, new eyes, new followers, new posts. We just want new. And it's like, don't forget that you can build a community and do other things that will positively benefit your business, like your retention.
Do you believe Instagram's just for like brand awareness, or you can actually get clients?
Yeah, 100% you can get clients. Instagram is like, we are so lucky to be living in a day and age where we have access to a free platform, which is Instagram. And then not only that, but unlimited global access to leads. Like, we have the ability to message absolutely anyone. We have essentially like a little bit of a profile of who they are, what they like, what do they do. Like, you're able to essentially build out a little bit of a character profile based on their Instagram. And you are able to, like I said, nurture those conversations in DM. So Instagram, you can do so many things with, same as LinkedIn, same as Facebook, TikTok as well, depending on what your platform is. But we are so lucky to be like in this space where, yeah, you've got the free access to all of this organic content creation. It's the rise of organic content creation. You don't even need to be paying for a video production team anymore. So do not underestimate how important it is. And, one of my biggest takeaways always is, if you're a business owner in 2025, stop treating Instagram or content creation like a hobby. It needs to be a main aspect of your business. You need to time block it into your calendar. You need to be consistent with both content creation, editing, posting, and then also having conversations with people like in your DMs, because the more you can treat it less like a hobby and more like an actual marketing tool and resource, the better success you will have in your business.
Beautiful. I think you've basically covered every question.
Ooh, how'd I go?
Great. Yeah.
Do you have any questions, George?
No, I don't think so.
I've made her nervous. I think I am just so passionate about this world of social media and marketing and digital marketing. And I think whether you are a business, an entrepreneur, personal brand, whatever it is you are doing, you should be in the space. You should be posting in the space. You should be creating a strategy. And do not feel like everything is over if, you only get 1,000 views, you only get 500 views. Stop letting those, poor analytics or like the judgment of others, like, stop you from essentially being a player in the space. Because like I said, we are so lucky to be alive at this time and we have access to this resource. And it's one of those things, it's just trial and error. And the moment that you find your niche or you find your like little lucky pot, you are just like going to have success. You just need to figure out what that is. And I guess another little tip, it is definitely worth mentioning, because social media, the algorithm, strategies, they all change. One thing that I'm really noticing in the space at the moment is when you have something that works on content, a reel that works, a carousel that works, double down on that. Like, if a reel does really well, see how you can replicate that 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. I have even seen people reposting the exact same reel and getting like double the likes the next time or double the views the next time. Look into what is doing well and understand that like the Instagram and the algorithm has liked that for some reason. So just post more of that and replicate it, and you'll kind of find your niche and your space in that way. But yeah, either way, don't let followers get you down. Don't let the fear of judgment get you down. Definitely build out a content strategy that makes sense. Try and cut out the noise of what other people are doing. And I guess a little bit of a plug just at the end, if you do need help, our Socials Made Simple is like a 8-week bootcamp program for you, for your business, for your social media marketing strategy. It includes a one-on-one intensive session with me where we deep dive into who you are, what's your marketing message, what is your unique selling point. And then we essentially build out your content framework and strategy over the next 8 weeks. It includes feedback. We go back and forth. We see what is working. We dive into your story strategy, how you're nurturing your DMs, and just really give you more confidence and clarity when it comes to the social media space. So yeah, if that is something you're interested in, obviously head to Better Collective Agency or DM me. But I think that is pretty much it's 30-minute mark. We've pretty much just wrapped up our little Q&A. Thanks for joining me, George.
Thanks for having me.
I'll probably get George back on at some point for a few more Q&A questions, because these are fun episodes and I actually really enjoyed filming this. It feels a little less pressure when I've got someone else in the room. It's nice. All right, thanks for listening, and I will be back in your ear hole soon.